Hello, everyone, and welcome back to a totally normal podcast about films, Atom Path. Where, in a very weird sequence of events, this is going to go up in a really weird order because, like, I haven't, just due to work and stuff, I haven't got round to uploading the Tucker and Dale episode yet. When we're recording it, that's going up. But the next video after isn't going to be The Muppets Christmas Carol. It's going to be this. And then The Muppet Christmas Carol's coming up on Christmas.
Nice.
So welcome, as we have a very interesting opportunity, for the first time in this podcast history, due to the sheer fact that the world had turned to bricks, we are reviewing a film that just came out.
Never happened before. We are kind of up to date.
Yeah, for once in our lives, we are watching something new.
We don't talk about something that's 100 years old.
And we joke about that, but like literally, we are planning on doing a 100-year anniversary episode for one movie. Okay. I think you saw the title, you know what this video is. We're talking about No Way Home, the newest Spider-Man movie. It's the third in the MCU series. It's the end of the, I guess, the Home trilogy.
Yeah.
And it came out Wednesday, the 15th in the UK. I think it comes out the 17th in America. And everyone's gone completely insane over it. It was the most viewed trailer on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone's... pretty much the reviews have been incredibly positive. Obviously, I don't think we can really comment on this film's legacy yet, but we can talk about it in, like, current. So, just before you even get to spoilers. Also, yes, I haven't done the introduction. This is how offbeat I am. It's a new film. My brain is broken.
It's okay.
I am Claire. This is my lovely co-host, Leon. Leon, what did you think of the movie?
I generally enjoyed the movie, even though I can see some flaws.
Mm-hmm.
So in my eyes, it's not perfect, but it's a movie I really like.
I think I've been trying to think about this for the last few days, and now that I'm kind of over that initial hype of seeing it.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is in my top 5 superhero movies, but I'm not. I think I'm going to need a second viewing to decide if it's my favourite or not.
Yeah.
It's absolutely... If it's not my favourite Spider-Man movie, it's my second favourite Spider-Man movie.
What would be your number
Spider-Verse.
one? Oh, I think we talked about that once, right? I don't know if we talked about it on the podcast or if it was a...
I think it was just us, but okay. Spider-Verse is an absolutely fantastic movie. In fact, it might still be my favourite Spider-Man movie, but we can get to that another time.
Yeah.
Because this is a current movie, I do have to stress that when we go into spoiler territory.
Yeah.
I know Sony and Marvel did a comically terrible job of hiding the spoilers for this movie, but there are some surprises that didn't get leaked.
They tried.
They really fucking tried.
I wish I didn't even see a trailer, but I think it was impossible.
Yeah, I mean, Hello Peter became basically fucking iconic.
Yeah.
But I will say, because Tom Holland's actually spoken about what the original marketing was going to be, and while I can understand, at least from the trailer perspective, maybe it showed off a bit more than you would have liked. At least it's better than what Marvel was planning on promoting.
What was Marvel planning on promoting?
Marvel was planning on promoting it being a Spider-Man versus Doctor Strange movie.
Okay.
And not showing off any of the villains, even though the villains are easily the best thing about the movie or what the movie's about.
To be honest, I think I would have preferred that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like,
Just a surprise.
yeah. I think it would have been such an iconic moment if they appeared without us
Yeah.
knowing. Like, it would have been a Luke, I am your father, right?
Yeah.
That's what.
Like Yoda showing up at The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
Spoilers for The Last Jedi. Okay. We're going to be entering spoiler territory. And just because it's really hard to talk about this movie without spoiling it.
Yeah.
Um,
So do yourself a favor, watch the movie, and hopefully
come back to us.
Yeah, hopefully you weren't spoiled until now.
Yeah. Okay. Is everyone gone? Everyone who doesn't want to be here gone? Okay. Toby and Andrew are in the movie.
They are.
And they're amazing in it. Okay, so. That's not even the biggest spoiler, in my opinion.
You don't think?
No, I think the biggest spoiler is... I'd argue the biggest spoiler is that Aunt May dies.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I see that as more the emotional... No! Oh, wait, is that the emotional climax, or would the emotional climax be when he tries to kill Green Goblin?
For me, the Green Goblin was way more emotional.
Yeah.
Be honest, I probably sound kind of cold, but I didn't have that many emotions when Aunt May died, because over the 3 movies, I didn't have this connection to her, you know?
She's not like the original Aunt May.
Yeah, like,
Nothing
the original
beats
Aunt May, I was like...
She's this sweet old lady and you just want to protect her.
So I never really had a big connection to this one, and that's why I understand. I had people in the cinema who cried at that moment, and I was just sitting there like, okay, that's sad, but I'm not really deeply emotionally affected by it.
Okay, so shall we let's go through it beat by beat and then just talk about our individual thoughts, because this is a dense movie. And we're not going to be able to cover every detail, but, you know. So, film starts pretty much where Far From Home ended.
I think it starts right after.
Yeah, it starts exactly with the what the fuck moment.
Yeah.
With, honestly, something that should have happened about 5 Spider-Man movies ago. Spider-Man's identity getting revealed to the public. I could talk for hours about how Mysterio is such a great villain because he actually won and stuff like this. But regardless of fuck Mysterio, you know, it's the I'm surprised they spent only really about 10, 15 minutes on that initial. I was expecting it to be a bit more of a crime drama, you know.
Oh, yeah. This is one of the flaws I have with this movie. I don't really... There are consequences, but somehow... If it's convenient for the plot, the consequences just...
Yeah, I agree.
end. You know?
Look, I was very, very happy to see Matt Murdock return.
Yeah.
And the lawyer scene is incredible.
Yeah.
But it was a bit fast. And I'm not saying I wanted the whole movie to be, oh no, Peter Parker's in legal trouble. Because I'm a simple woman. I want to see Spider-Man fight baddies.
Yeah.
It's like me with kaiju movies. I don't really care about the human plots. I mostly care about the baddie, big dude fighting other big dude plot.
Yeah, but you know what I would have liked to see? The Mysterio fans, that they would have been a bigger threat to him. Like, in the beginning, they started to threat him.
But it doesn't really go far.
Yeah. At one point, a rock is thrown at him, but that's about it.
I almost think, because this was something I was talking about with some friends, I almost wonder if there was a different plot for this movie, and then they decided to go with the multiverse story. Because, like, I know in Homecoming they alluded to that the guy that would become Scorpion wanted to know Peter's identity.
Yeah.
So I wonder if we were going to get like a a Cult of Mysterio kind of thing. Matt Murdock. I'm sorry. I know that that scene I already said was great, but like just the whole you're gonna need a really good lawyer. Then someone throws a brick, he just catches it. It's like, how do you do that? I'm a really good lawyer. Like, he is. I like that he was in the movie because I like when like. Okay, I've got a good way of wording this. He's in the movie, but Daredevil isn't in the movie. Like, we don't need. It's just a C, but because Matt Murdock is an established character, it'd be like if in the next Doctor Strange he calls up Bruce Banner for a bit of science advice, Like, it doesn't need to be a massive deal. It just needs to be this character exists in this universe,
Yeah.
And I like stuff. I think that's the kind of cameos I'd like. Honestly, I'd love it if they start to have like a superhero cameo in each of these movies, So, like, could you imagine if, like, in like Ant-Man, you just see Bucky in the back drinking the coffee? Like, what the hell? Should I help?
Nah.
Yeah. Were you happy to see Matt return?
I just watched the first season of Daredevil. I don't know why I didn't continue after it, because I really liked the first season.
Yeah, the first season was, from what I remember, was very good.
I was happy to see him back, but I hope if Daredevil becomes a part of the MCU, that they don't change the tonality of the series from the series too much, because it was really
it's a dark
it's
series.
Really dark and serious.
And I completely agree with you, and honestly I think I know this is jumping to a different cinematic universe here, but I think that's where the DCEU really struggled with at the beginning, because that was trying to be totally consistent. And I think it took until Wonder Woman for them to realise they don't need to be. So, like, a Superman movie shouldn't tonally be the same as a Batman movie. Similar here, if we got a Daredevil movie, I'd expect a darker movie than a Spider-Man film.
Yeah, that's the problem I have with the MCU, that they kind of have to be in line with each other. Because I think there will be a Blade movie, right?
We are getting a Blade movie at some point.
And for me,
that should be dark.
Yeah, because the character needs it. Same as Moon Knight.
Yeah, fortunately Moon Knight looks quite dark, and we are getting a Deadpool 3, and that is confirmed to be R-rated. So I think as the MCU is kind of reaching the size it is now, I think they're going to really benefit from going different tonal route. Like, as long as the core storyline has a family-friendly thing,
Yeah.
Because, like, for example, like, Marvel Comics, you only need to, like, for example, Secret Wars, you only need to read the Secret Wars comic to get the plot. But if you want to know what Thanos was up to, you can read his comic on it.
Hmm.
And I think I prefer that approach rather than you must watch everything. Because I don't want to watch everything anymore. I don't have the time. 4 movies a year and 4 shows a year. Fuck that. Yeah, but moving on. That's kind of wrapped
But
up. And
I think it's kind of ironic that you say you don't want to watch that many movies to watch another one, because I think a big part of the experience of this one is to have watched all Spider-Man movies.
oh yeah, and that's something I'll be getting into, which is something I actually wanted to discuss with you a bit later.
Okay.
Because there's something very interesting I've started to think about. But yeah, so like Spider-Man starts to kind of get back to normal. J. Jonah James is still on his case, and the city, as we mentioned, is quite divided. Half the world believes Spider-Man, half believes Mysterio.
Hmm.
It's a plot point that doesn't really go anywhere, and they all try to apply to MIT.
Yeah.
And backup colleges. And while they do focus on MIT, it is kind of implied with all of them. They're all getting rejected because of their association with Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And I imagine some people saying this is an irrational decision on Peter Parker's part, but the dude's a fucking 18-year-old going through the worst time of his life. Like, okay, I'm gonna set up my final argument for this movie now. This movie feels like Spider-Man's origin story. And I know that's weird to say for the 3rd film in a trilogy, but this feels like it's actually setting up Spider-Man, not the sidekick, but Spider-Man, the responsible hero.
I see what you mean.
Because there's a comic called, I think it's One Last Day, which has a similar plot of Spider-Man making a deal to make people forget who he was.
Hmm.
And people hate that comic because it goes against the whole great power, great responsibility thing. But this movie does it well because the whole movie is he makes this mistake. So now he has to learn the hard way that great power comes great responsibility.
Even though he tries to run from it.
Yeah, he tries to run from it, but in the end he makes the right decision.
Yeah.
And we'll get to that, but he makes the very irrational decision of he goes to Doctor Strange, he's like, hey, could you reverse time? Which, of course, he can't. So then he changes it to, then they realise, can we make everyone forget he was Spider-Man? And in doing so, Peter keeps interfering, which pisses off Doctor Strange and also ruins the spell. And instead of making everyone forget that Peter Parker is Spider-Man, it starts to drag in people who know he is Spider-Man from the multiverse. Hence why, Doc Ock, Green Goblin, Electro, Lizard, and Sandman are here.
Yeah. Can I interfere here? Right.
Of course. Yeah.
Because I don't really like my position here, that I always have to be a little bit more negative.
You don't have to be a bit
critic.
You don't have to.
But I don't like it when a discussion is really one-sided.
Yeah, no, that's good.
So don't get me wrong, guys. I really love this movie, but I think Doctor Strange's decision to grant Peter the wish to do that spell and to perform that spell was a really weird decision, because he's such a responsible character. Like, he even against Thanos, he saw the outcome that he has to die, so he kind of sacrificed himself.
No, I completely understand where you're coming from.
And now he just goes with the teenager's intuition, you know?
Yeah. I agree with Wong, who was just like, nope, I'm out. I'm going to Shang-Chi.
Doing some Asian stuff.
Yeah. No, I completely... I do agree with you there that Doctor Strange really should have thought this is more on Strange than it is on Peter.
Yeah.
And of course, he does try to take the more responsible, just fix it way out, which then leads to one of the main plot tensions. But we'll get there. So, the bad guys come through, and of course, first off, it's Doc Ock. Who? Can we just appreciate that Dr. Octopus is the best Spider-Man villain?
He is. That's why Spider-Man 2 is my all-time favorite Spider-Man.
Yeah, I mean, even in that movie, he's amazing, because, like, his plan isn't even necessarily evil, it's just too dangerous. He's a fantastic, like, villain. What I've always liked about him is because Spider-Man villains usually fall into they're powerful or they're intelligent side. He's both.
Yeah. And I just want to say that Willem Dafoe and what was his name again?
Alfred Molina.
Alfred, yeah. I think they do a really great job. I think they are the best actors in this movie.
Especially Dafoe.
Yeah, Dafoe kills it.
You really get that split personality thing. And you're considering the reprising roles from over 15 years ago.
Almost 20.
Yeah, but in the case
Dafoe.
In the case of Dafoe, that's 19 years. Like, they did a fantastic job. That's not to say, just because we're talking about the roles, that's not to say the other villains aren't bad. I think Sandman is. It's been years since I watched Spider-Man 3, but I think he really captures that sympathetic villain.
Yeah. Even though I have to say Sandman and Lizard are the ones that get the least development in this movie.
Yeah, they are.
Especially Lizard.
Although I will say, if I had to choose between developing one of them two and developing Electro, I'm glad they chose to develop Electro because...
Yeah, of course, yeah.
The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is, in my opinion, the weakest Spider-Man movie. I mean, Spider-Man 3 is Spider-Man 3, but... So
At least it's funny.
The best. Yeah, it's a funny movie, and Sandman's the best part of that movie.
Yeah.
Lizard's all... I like Lizard.
Lizard is a great villain in the comics. In the movie, he was good too. I think he was good, but... Yeah.
They took the piss out of his plan in this movie, and I like that. Electro. I'm not the biggest fan of Amazing Spider-Man 2. There was a lot of reasons. We might have to do an Atom Path on it one day.
Even though I really liked Electro before he came with Electro. I think Jamie Foxx did a great job in making him a nerdy guy. So I kind of felt for him because he was such a big fan of Spider-Man, and it was kind of tragic, but then this power fantasy he had later on...
it feels...
It feels out of character, you know, this development. There wasn't much of a development. He was like, okay, he's this naive, nice guy, and then he becomes a villain.
Yeah, which I think it would have been better if they went the approach of he is this nice guy, and then he's just untrusting and scared, and then he starts to go deranged. Yeah. And I think this movie's portrayal of Electro is a better jump, because he's evil, but he's not mustache twirling evil.
Yeah.
like, once he gets the arc reactor, to be honest, he's mostly content with just, like, he gets the arc reactor, and he fucks off. It isn't until Spider-Man, like, he's like, I've got the box, that he converted the trap, and when he has his chat with Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, you really start to feel for that whole thing of, like, in reality, he's just someone who wants to be noticed.
Yes.
Like, I would have loved, they wouldn't have done this, but I would have loved to have seen the Amazing Spider-Man writers have wrote a redemption story for Electro.
Mm-hmm.
You know, having Spider-Man not kill him, but actually talk him down and get Electro to be like, hey, you could be a good guy. But that's a story for another day.
Yeah.
Okay, I will ask now. I know we've heavily alluded to it, but in this movie, who is your favourite villain? Solely out of this movie's portrayal of them.
Green Goblin.
Fucking Green Goblin. They're all great. The Goblin's the best he's ever been.
Yeah. Defoe just rocks the character.
You know an actor's good when he can go for 1 minute being, I'm a bit of a scientist myself. And then the next minute, he literally sounds like the devil.
And I like that he literally said, I'm a bit of a scientist myself.
The audience in the theatre over there was so happy when he said that. There was just this eternal chuckle.
Like, I think this was the best meta joke in the movie.
Oh, yeah.
And
there's a lot of good meta jokes in the movie.
There are meta jokes. The only problem I have with meta jokes is that they kind of take me out of the experience. Like, they remind me I'm just watching a movie, and the movie is...
Oh, yeah.
In this moment, the movie acknowledges that it's a movie, and that the audience knows more, you know?
Yes.
Like, it doesn't make much sense sometimes that characters say something like this, you are amazing. You know?
Oh yeah, that was a bit too on the nose.
I think it's a funny joke, and I laughed, but it is a joke worth it breaking the like pulling you out of the experience for that moment?
Yeah. I agree. I think, and like that's the scene you're referring to is already filled with a lot of really great moments. I think they could have afforded to, like, even if it was just one, yeah, you're amazing, let it be like, no, you're amazing, dude, you're amazing.
Yeah, they just continue saying it. And they make Andrew kind of admit that his Spider-Man films are the least liked.
Yeah.
And because he says he's the most boring of the three of them, and then they say, no, you're amazing and stuff like that, you know?
I will say, I don't think the Amazing Spider-Man films are boring. I just think that...
I like the first one.
The first one's good. The second one is... It ain't boring, I'll give it that. But no, I
have to say, I was more emotionally attached to both uncles than to Aunt May, even though the uncles only had one film to make me like them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I completely... I will say... I will say... I'm sorry, this is jumping ahead. I wish they would have had a scene where it was, you know, at the graveyard scene. I wish May's grave was next to Uncle Ben's.
Oh, yeah.
That would have been a really nice little nod. Because they've not really addressed what happened to Uncle Ben. I assume it was different.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like he had this tragic story with Ben.
Yeah. It's almost implied that, like, Yeah, no, it's basically. I imagine it just was unattached to its Spider-Man ink.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically, as the plot progresses, Doctor Strange basically is like, yeah, so we need to capture them, and it basically turns into a little bit of a just capture the bad guys film. I'm disappointed that Strange insta-caught Lizard.
Yeah.
Just because Lizard really doesn't get that much screen time in this movie, and I really like Lizard. I get it. It's a big movie. You got a lot of stuff to do.
You kind of have to focus on some characters when you have a big roster.
Yeah. And, I know Spider-Man 3 and Amazing Spider-Man 2 fell into a massive issue of we have too many villains, which I believe this film doesn't have that problem.
Yeah, I was afraid it would have this problem, but it didn't. They managed it quite well.
Because they pretty much very quickly sum up every villain's arc. It's like...
To be honest, you already know the villains.
Yeah.
And because you know them from earlier films, you know their motivations and stuff. You don't have to put much backstory in it, and you can just add more story to them.
Mm-hmm. And I'd argue they put enough backstory in it that it didn't feel like an exposition dump, but so that a new audience who'd only watched, say, the MCU movies could understand it.
Mm.
Even
though I don't think it would make much sense to watch it without knowing the other films.
Yeah, you need to watch the other films, really. It is a lesser experience. But, for example, for the characterization, I mean, just from the scenes, you get that Norman Osborn isn't a bad guy, the Green Goblin is.
Yeah.
That Octavius is a brilliant scientist who's basically... Well, he's basically an Icarus story. He reached for the sun and he got burnt.
Yes.
You get the idea that Sandman is a very deeply mistrusting, but overall a good person.
Yeah.
Lizard just wants to turn people into lizards.
What is totally understandable.
And Electro has this very good, Electro... Well, we've been over Electro.
Yeah.
And I love the villain interactions. I love that they get to chat and, Electro and Flint joke about how they need to watch where they're going. Because they keep falling into things and getting powers.
I kind of got emotional when Doc Ock and Goblin interacted.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's such a sweet moment.
Old friends.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of tragic that they ended where they were. Marvel films have this problem with writing or having really good villains.
Yeah. It's the biggest weakness of the MCU, in my opinion.
Thanos was a good villain. Loki was a good villain. And...
Vulture and Mysterio.
Oh, Vulture and Mysterio were great villains too.
But then you've got villains like Killmonger, who is super understandable, and then they were like, he's too understandable, let's make him do irredeemably evil things that seem out of character.
Yeah, and this in Guardians 1.
Oh, what's his fucking Ronan?
Ronan.
Yeah.
He was just a CGI dude.
Yeah.
I don't even think he was CGI. I think it was makeup, but yeah.
I think into Phase 3 and now into Phase 4, I think they've started to fix the villain issue. We've still got a few misfires. I can't even remember the name of the Captain Marvel villain. I don't even remember much about Captain Marvel. But I think they're getting better, and I think this film is basically the ultimate testimony to they know how to write villains now.
Hopefully.
We can fucking hope.
Because they didn't really write villains, they just used villains that were great before.
Okay, possible Spider-Man 4 will be the ultimate test. Because we'll get to that soon, but the villain they teased for that I am very excited about. So, Spider-Man goes around, and there's some great fight scenes. Sandman, Spider-Man versus Electro is really good, and they deal with it. And as around this time, Aunt May has located Norman Osborn, and she's the one. And it's not Goblin, it's Norman. He's worried, he's scared, and this is where she plants the idea in his mind that you send these people back. You can't do anything. They're just going to suffer. Try and help them. And I think it's one of my favourite lines in the movie, and this was from a trailer, but I love this movie. It's when Dr. Octopus tells Spider-Man, you're flying out into the darkness to fight a ghost.
Yeah.
And it's this really big thing where Peter has this moral dilemma. Send them back, problem solved, but they die. And that's something that Peter can't do. He can't just let them die.
Mm.
And I think that's a really believable thing because, you were talking about how Doctor Strange is meant to be more cosmically good, but, kind of fails.
Mm.
Peter Parker is your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. And he wants to help people. Like, it's at the end of Homecoming where he saves the Vulture's life. He didn't have to. But he did. Tony Stark would have let Vulture die, but he's not Tony Stark. Tony Stark would have clicked the button instantly, but he's Peter Parker. He saves people. And I think I think this movie's a really good testimony to that fact that, like, he knows what the right thing to do is.
Yeah.
It's not the easy thing. And he and Doctor Strange get into a fight over it. My housemate, who I went to see it with, she hadn't watched Doctor Strange before and was just apparently just like completely losing her mind when that scene happened. Because it's so trippy.
It is.
But they kind of like, it's a good fight. What do you think of it?
Like this particular scene or the action in general in this movie?
Just to see him. We get to the action in a bit.
I like the Doctor Strange mirror dimension things.
Yes.
It's stuff you don't really see in movies much.
Yeah, it's trippy, and I know it's not practical effects, but come on.
Yeah.
I've been reading a lot of reviews, and a lot of the critiques is, oh my god, it's so CGI heavy. It's like, look, I'm with you guys. Practical effects are better, but some of this shit you can't do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a great scene. And he takes them to their apartment, and they start to fix the problems. They create like an energy control unit for Electro. They fix the chip on Dr. Octopus, and that's a really sweet moment. And as this is happening, the spider sense goes fucking wild. And I think that's a really good scene.
I actually felt threat, like real threat.
Mm-hmm. No, same. And the great thing about it is you don't know who it's coming from until he fires the web and it's revealed to be coming from Goblin. And, this entire fucking scene. Where do you even begin?
Lots of punches taken.
So put it, I think we're just going to have to go the very quick way, aren't we?
Yeah. I don't think it makes much sense to retell action
Yeah.
pieces.
They'll put it incredibly bluntly. The apartment block they're in gets completely obliterated. All the villains escape, although Dr. Octopus remains cured.
Even though it's not technically shown.
Yeah, it's almost implied.
He gets hit by Electro.
Yeah.
And I was like, it could have happened that the chip would have been destroyed again.
Yeah. But later they reveal that no, he's actually still in control.
Yeah.
And we see a much more comic accurate version of the Goblin. He's got like the purple hood. And he and Spider-Man fight. And in the ensuing battle, Aunt May is killed. And she gives the great power comes great responsibility speech.
Yeah.
And she dies. The feds are trying to get Spider-Man and he has to flee. And it's just this massively, sad scene where like he's just basically like, God, you just want to hug him. And this is where the film gets interesting.
You think this is where the film gets interesting?
Well, no, the film's been interesting, but what I mean is, interesting as in, it goes from being, well, this film's great, to, oh, this film's...
Okay, I get
Do you know where I'm going with this? Like,
Yeah.
because this is the stuff they were trying to hide. Because, MJ and Peter's friend Ned have been, like, on... His guy's on the chair for a while. They stole something from Doctor Strange, the portal ring, and they use it to summon Peter Parker.
And they do.
And they do. But it's not there, Peter Parker. And I have to say, this is my new favourite cinema moment. Because the moment he walked in and took off the mask, and the audience went utterly ballistic. Because it was just a bunch of, comic book nerds being like, oh my god, they actually did it. I wish it wasn't the most worst kept secret in the universe.
Yeah.
That being said, Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire are in this movie, and they are fucking fantastic.
They are.
I like that Andrew is basically portrayed as the Spider-Man who lost, and he's doing it, but he feels he doesn't really know what to do. And
I think he's just feeling alone, left alone, bitter.
And then you've got Tobey, who is the Spider-Man who he's the dad.
The dad.
He's the dad Spider-Man. He's got a bad back. He's I mean, I eternally headcanon that, Spider-Verse, the Peter that comes into Miles' universe. I've eternally headcanon that Lat is meant to be Tobey Maguire. Just a head.
Oh, what?
Or, like the animated.
Yeah, I know. But I was expecting that you would continue your sentence. But
no,
stopped.
I just had. Sorry, I thought you were gonna say something. No, I had kind of that he's that Peter Parker, and like, I don't know. It probably doesn't work, but it was something I had canon, and I like that he's just a bit
It would have been really sad headcanon because in the animated film, his story is kind of sad.
It is sad.
Like I don't really like when they do continuations of stories set years later, and they bring back other characters and it just shows
lives.
That the last years after a happy end of maybe a film they had before was miserable.
Yeah. Well, at least they confirmed that, at least with this Tobey Maguire. he and MJ worked it out in the end.
Yeah.
Which is nice. I will say, I would have liked them to have maybe said some things, that happened. Like, I would have liked Toby to have said, oh yeah, and I fought the Vulture. Imply stories that didn't happen. But I get why they didn't. And, they find Peter and they give him like a bit of a pep talk. And they're like, hey, yeah, look, I know you want to kill him, but that's not going to solve anything. He doesn't really listen, but they give him this pep talk. And they science bro it. They have some more like jokes and references, and they basically come up with the plan of lure everyone to the Statue of Liberty and cure the war.
Yeah.
And we talked about earlier, but like there's a really half awkward fan service, half legitimately quite wholesome scene where it's the three spiders talking. I will say, while this might be considered a bit of on-the-nose fan service, I fucking loved their conversation about the Avengers. It's like, I was in the Avengers. Oh, good. What's the Avengers? They just don't have it in their world. Like, are you in a band? I love when they keep joking, because this is a running gag that the Avengers is basically a rock band. Because I had that joke in Infinity War, it's like the Avengers broke up. What, like the Beatles? But yeah, like, big old fight scene. Sandman gets cured. Lizard gets... I like Lizard getting cured.
Yeah.
Because that's when Doctor Strange returns and he sees Peter curing and makes this whole, like, welcome back, Dr. Connors. That's a really sweet moment.
It is.
Doc Ock returns. He takes the arc reactor off Electro and is basically like, oh, this is what I wanted. Because it's the power of the sun in the palm of your hands. But it doesn't destroy the world. Andrew and Electro have a talk, and again, this might be a bit on the nose fan servicey, but I liked the whole thing of Electro just like, I just wanted Spider-Man to be black. Which, I've got miles, but like, I love that conversation.
Yeah, for me, this was one of the moments that didn't work too good, because the audience knows, there's Miles Morales, and
Yeah, no, I completely get you.
But all my complaining aside.
No, okay, I just want to clarify, like, if we don't have a good cop, bad cop thing going on, you're more balanced and able to criticize movie, while I have goblin brain of, ooh, a Spider-Man goes swing! Oh god, that was a voice clip. And so Nat leaves Goblin, who appears, nearly kills MJ, but Andrew saves her. And oh god,
I like this one. I really like that scene.
You just want to hug him. Because you can just see in his eye. That's a greatly acted scene where he's just there like, yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah.
And they have their final fight. And Peter is just crying to kill him. And it's this really dark and tense moment, because you don't really get scenes where Spider-Man's trying to kill the villain that much. And the fact that he is such a dark scene, and you kind of think he's going to stop, but it takes Toby to stop him. And I think that's good. I think what I would have liked Tom to have stopped on his own, I think it's really great that the original Spider-Man stepped in and was like, no, we're better than this.
Yeah.
And, like, I know it's the heroic hero thing of, like, a hero shouldn't kill, but sometimes you need someone to step in. But Because Peter had every right to kill the Green Goblin in that scene. But that's not what Peter Parker would do. And I think that's a really strong scene that they got him to stop. Because none of the Spider-Man villain deaths in the movies have ever been intentional. You know, Green Goblin killed himself. Octopus sacrificed himself. New Goblin was killed. I forget Venom. I forget how they took out Venom. Was it the pumpkin bomb?
I don't really remember. Wasn't it a big bell that fell on him?
No, that's how he stripped himself of the symbiote. Oh no, I remember. I think he's trying to use one of Goblin's bombs to destroy the symbiote, but Eddie tries to reattach and it kills both of them.
Oh yeah.
Sandman doesn't really die. He just goes off in the wind. Lizard doesn't die. Electro overcharges. And Mysterio, that's his own fault.
Wait a minute, Lizard didn't die?
No, he goes to jail.
Oh.
They actually, because I noticed this. Lizard asks Electro if he dies, and he doesn't get the answer because of the ensuing carnage.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, Lizard doesn't die. He only goes to prison. And in fact, hell, Andrew's tweet even says like, "Yeah, I've killed Lizard before. We can do it again." And as this happens, Toby gets stabbed. Non-fatally. I think everyone in the cinema thought fatally.
I thought too.
He gets back up. Though I do say he's in immense pain. The poor chap. So he gets stabbed, and in the final act, Andrew throws the Goblin cure to Tom, who injects it into Goblin, and the day is saved. Except it isn't. Because in the fight, the Green Goblin destroyed the MacGuffin box, which was keeping the spell intact.
Mm.
And now everything is being unleashed. I'm excited for when this comes out on DVD and Blu-ray so that people can properly analyse the rifts.
Yeah.
I've seen people say they spotted Rhino and Scorpion.
Yeah, my brother, he said he saw Rhino. I didn't really see.
Yeah, I think 2 hours into the movie, my brain was dead. But I wouldn't be surprised if there's like cameos from like Carnage and Kraven the Hunter.
Yeah.
And Peter Parker comes up, he's talking to Strange, and they're like, "Yeah, we can't stop this." And Peter basically realizes the only way to stop this is to recast the spell. But no caveats, no, "Oh, this person has to remember." No, just recast the spell.
Yeah.
And this is what I mean by, like, this film does Peter Parker doing something in response to be right, because at the end he realises he has to do the right thing.
Mm.
And he says goodbye to the other spiders. And he has to say goodbye to Ned and MJ because they're going to forget.
Yeah.
And it's a really emotional scene. It's a really good scene. I really like Doctor Strange where, like, for the whole film, Doctor Strange's like, "You're an irresponsible kid," but at the end he's like, No, you did that right.
Yeah.
And, like, this is part of what I mean by this movie this movie is Spider-Man going from a sidekick to a hero. Because this isn't, "Oh, I did this on my own." This is him making a sacrifice, you know?
Yeah.
This is him like, "I'm about to ruin my life to save everyone's life." Not, "I'm about to prove to Tony Stark I could be an Avenger." It's, "No, I've got to do this. Is my mess. I take the punishment." And he does. Everyone forgets that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. There's a awkward but kind of nice scene where you find out that everything's worked out okay for MJ and Ned, but Peter just doesn't have the heart to try and explain the truth yet.
Yeah.
And there's the graveyard scene, which we talked a little bit about earlier. And the film concludes with Peter Parker in a shitty little apartment, because of course he is. It's Peter Parker. Where else is he gonna live? And
The end.
not the end yet.
For me, it's the end. No. He goes up and swings a little bit around, and it's nice shots.
And he gets
from
the
him. Swing.
he finally has the red and blue suit.
Yeah, finally.
The entire scene was literally CGI taken from the PlayStation 4 game, but repainted. I've been nice about the special effects before. As much as I love to see it, I'm not being nice about that. That's a little bit lazy. But I like that he got the red and blue suit.
Yeah, because I don't like the Iron Spider suit.
I think it got a bit overused. I like the red and black suit, but I think the Iron Spider suit was getting a bit overused.
Yeah, I think it's weird.
Yeah. I think it should have only really been for Infinity War Endgame, because it was meant to be that, it's his defensive suit for worst case scenario. But he doesn't have Stark Tech anymore, so, he doesn't have the suit. And that was Spider-Man No Way Home. Do you want to just go over the credit scenes real quick?
Venom is there, but I knew that because I saw Let There Be Carnage, and in the after credit scene of that, Venom gets transported into this universe.
Yeah, so basically it's Venom being caught up on what's happening, and he gets sent back, but he accidentally leaves a little bit of the symbiote behind. So we better fucking get Venom and Spider-Man 4. I already feel sad that we never got Scorpion. Give me Venom and Spider-Man 4. And the final one is basically just the trailer for Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah.
Not really much to say. It looks good.
Yeah.
Okay. So now that we've gotten... Sorry, go on.
Who's your favorite Spider-Man?
It's either Tobey or Tom. I think it might just be Tobey Maguire.
Yeah, for me it's Tobey.
Yeah. I think all three have a good strength. I think Tobey is just the... I mean, we talked about this when I watched the original Spider-Man film a while ago. Tobey Maguire is the vanilla Spider-Man. But I like the vanilla Spider-Man. Tom Holland has that more... He's a bit more of a kid. He's a better, younger Spider-Man,
Yeah.
And Andrew Garfield... But...
I think Tobey Maguire is a better actor than Tom Holland. That's why I kind of like... because, let's be honest, Tom Holland isn't the best actor.
Yeah, and he's getting a bit typecast. And I think he needs to be allowed to play other roles. I mean, I think he's been talking about taking a break from Spider-Man for a bit, and I welcome it. I think he just needs, like how Daniel Radcliffe, immediately after going through Harry Potter, immediately jumped into horror roles. I think Tom needs a couple of... he's got the front role for Uncharted, so I think that could help. But I think he needs new roles.
Yeah.
That's not to say I don't like Tom Holland as an actor. Just you've got to grow.
Yeah.
And Andrew Garfield, I think, is a good dark Spider-Man, but the scripts let him down.
Yeah.
And overall, now that we've been through the spoiler territory, how would you rate this film?
I would rate this film I'm still between. Nah. I say it's 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm thinking probably around an 8. It could go up to 9 on a second viewing, but I'd say an 8's a very fair. It is a fantastic movie. It's an amazing movie. It's a spectacular movie.
It is.
What was your
I have to be honest, it's a movie that's built completely on fan service,
It is.
but it's kind of charming too.
Yeah, like, it's a sequel that doesn't really work on its own. It's a fan service filled CGI fest. It's a dumb action movie, but there's also a really good coming of age story in there. And some really good takes about great power and great responsibility.
I think this movie kind of sums up everything good about the MCU and everything bad about the MCU.
Yes. With the
It
exception
combines
of
them.
with the exception of the villain problem, all of these villains are really good.
Because they take them from
From
other
other-
movies.
Yeah. What was your favourite scene?
My favorite scene was... what was it? I think I kind of like the laboratory scene where the 3 Spider-Mans
That is a really good scene.
work together.
Yeah, that's a really
course.
good scene. I think I liked the whole, like, you know, when they're at the apartment
Yeah.
and they're trying to cure, because there's a lot of really good interactions, and then, you know, it gets very suddenly quite dark and fucked up and just goes to hell.
Yeah.
And yes, that was Spider-Man No Way Home. I'm excited for the 4th film, Spider-Man Homeless. I think they're dropping the
Spider-Man
home.
can't rent a home.
Spider-Man! Ah! Okay. This was a bit of a weird off-schedule one, so I don't think either of us really have we're watching this next time.
No.
The next video that will be going upload will be the Muppets Christmas Carol.
Hopefully.
It should be. I'm planning on, like, it'll be up. It'll be up.
Okay. Okay.
But yes, we thank you all for watching.
That's it.
Yep, bye.
Bye.